And God saved them by sending an angel to kill 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. Now you're going to see what's crazy about all of this, right? To kill 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. Now that's a crazy event, okay? Now, and also in that same passage, God told the prophet Isaiah to tell Hezekiah that not even one arrow will enter into the city of Judah, meaning they will be protected completely by God, right? Not even a single arrow will be casted into the city. Remember that. While I was eating my final meal of the day, I was watching a much older man talking about a subject pertaining to the Bible and Armageddon, which is also called the Day of Yahuwah. And he made mention of a particular passage which involved King Jehoshaphat of Judah. That bird is really distracting. And basically, Judah was under attack. And the verse that spoke about, that was alluding to Armageddon, which is also called the Day of Yahuwah, it references Jehoshaphat in the valley. And Jehoshaphat was going through a particular ordeal where he was under attack. And that bird is really distracting. And Judah was under attack. And basically, the account goes that they prayed to Yahuwah, and Yahuwah delivered Judah. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because I realize that the signs that I've been getting through the act of bibliomancy, and I'm going to explain what this is, that the signs I've been getting through bibliomancy, I thought just meant a sign of protection from anything. While it could mean that, I now think I understand why God was giving me those signs. And so let me go through them real quick. Very long time ago, I was going through a particular ordeal, and I opened up the Bible. I heard about this thing where you can pray to God and just open up the Bible, and you might get an answer from God through the verse that you open up, or the page that you open up. I don't remember where I heard this practice from, but I started doing it, so I must have heard it from somewhere, and I know it didn't just come up my own imagination to do it. So I tried it. I said a prayer to Yahuwah, and I opened up the Bible. And the passage that it took me to was in Isaiah chapter 7, I believe, where the maiden would give birth to a child and he would be called Emmanuel. I believe that's chapter 7 or chapter 1. And in that chapter, in those pages that I opened up, Judah was under attack. However, that wasn't what I was paying attention to. What I was paying attention to was that the maiden would give birth to a virgin, and she would give birth, and he would be called Emmanuel. And over the weekend, I went to a convention by myself. My parents had went to some other place, but I went to a convention about the Bible. And I sat all the way at the top of the convention. The convention lasts like about 3 days or so. So I was there at the convention, and I believe on the first or the second day, the man who was on the podium made mention of the practice of bibliomancy. Now, mind you, this organization have never spoken about bibliomancy. Then all of a sudden, the very week where I do my personal Bible study and I decide to practice bibliomancy, now it is being spoken of at the convention. And the brother's deduction basically was that God does not use bibliomancy to answer prayers. So I'm thinking, but I feel like he did it with me with the passage in Isaiah. So that was like either the first or the second day, right? On the third day, we had a watchtower study. And in that watchtower study, the theme of that, and I didn't study my watchtower. Maybe it was God who was keeping me back from studying my watchtower, so that when I finally opened up the watchtower during the discussion on the third day, I would see what the topic was. And the topic was about Isaiah chapter either 1 or 7, where the maiden will give birth to a child and he will be called Emmanuel. So that was, to me, I took that as confirmation. That passage answered my prayer. I go to the convention, and the topic of what I practiced was discussed, and the deduction was that it's not from God. And on the third day, the topic of the watchtower was the scripture that God revealed to me through the act of bibliomancy. Now, do not confuse bibliomancy with bibliomancy. Okay, I'm talking about bibliomancy. Okay, so that was the first time that God answered my prayer through bibliomancy. Now, I did not know that that passage also spoke about Judah being saved. I didn't know that it was. That wasn't what I gathered from that. I gathered the only thing was the maiden will give birth to a child and he'll be called Emmanuel, right? So now, years later, I decided to practice bibliomancy again. And when I opened up the Bible, it was about Judah being under attack at the time of King Hezekiah, and God saved them by sending an angel to kill 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. Now you're going to see what's crazy about all of this, right? To kill 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. Now that's a crazy event, okay? Now, and also in that same passage, God told the prophet Isaiah to tell Hezekiah that not even one arrow will enter into the city of Judah, meaning they will be protected completely by God, right? Not even a single arrow will be casted into the city. Remember that. Okay. The very next day, I opened up the Bible again. And the same account, I opened up the Bible to the same account again, but in a different book. So the account is mentioned, I believe, 2 or 3 times in the Bible, but they are nowhere close to each other. And you know the Bible is a very thick book. So what are the odds of me opening up the Bible by random to one story in a different book of the Bible, and I open up the Bible the next day after saying a prayer using bibliomancy, and God shows me the same story again, the same event in a different passage of the Bible? The odds of that happening is like worse, like more improbable than winning the lottery. Okay, so now I'm like, when that happened, I thought, wait, did I open to the same book of the Bible? You know how sometimes when you open a book and you close it, you can open to the same spot again because it's kind of partially opened. So that's what I thought happened. But I remember, no, the book that I opened to was in Kings, but this time it's in Chronicles. So I was like, wait, hold up, is the story repeated? Yes, the story is repeated. So I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So again, Judah was being under attack, but the message of the account was that Judah was being under attack, but God delivered them. Okay, and that they didn't have to worry because God will protect them and deliver them. Okay, and then when I thought back to Isaiah, the very first time I practiced bibliomancy and went to Isaiah chapter 7, it was about Judah being saved as well. Okay, so now, again, years pass by, and I decide to practice this bibliomancy again, right? So I open up the Bible, say a prayer, I open up the Bible, and Judah is being under attack again. But this time, under King Jehoshaphat. And in the account, as I'm reading, Judah's being under attack, but God tells Jehoshaphat that they will be delivered, and the army started fighting against themselves, and the Judeans did not have to lift up a single sword. And they took, I don't remember if they took a bunch of spoil that day, I believe, yeah. Because there was also an account like that with King Asa, but yeah. So Judah was under attack and they were delivered. So now the next day, I'm thinking, maybe God is going to show me this story again, right? If I say a prayer and I open up the Bible. I don't know if you guys are keeping up with me, right? If you watch the video back, you might understand what I'm saying. Okay, so I open up the Bible the next day in the morning. I remember, I open up the Bible, sitting at the side of my bed, not here in New York, sitting at the side of my bed, and it takes me to the book of Psalms. And I'm thinking to myself, oh no, it's over. God, Yahuwah hasn't, he's not doing it again with me, because the theme has been Judah under attack and being saved. And I'm like, in Psalms, what king is being attacked in Psalms and is going to be delivered, right? So I'm reading this, I'm reading it from the top left to the bottom. Nothing about Judah. I was like, oh dang, I guess Yahuwah hasn't done it for me this time, right? But I go to the next page. Mind you, it's the same, right? So I read this part. Now I have to read this part, because that's what I do. I read from one corner to the bottom corner of the other side, right? So now I'm reading this side, right? I'm reading. And King David says, even if an army surrounds me and forms an encampment or builds up a siege rampart or something like that against me, I shall not fear, because Jehovah will be with me and will deliver me, right? So All the Isaiah 7, Isaiah 7, 2nd Chronicles, Kings, Jehoshaphat being under attack. All the 6 times that I've opened up the Bible and said a prayer and God has done bibliomancy with me, the theme, and mind you, this is it's not like this theme is all throughout the Bible. No, it's in very selected spots. But what are the odds of me saying a prayer to God, opening up the Bible, each of those 6 times, and the theme has always been that Judah in particular, not even the other tribes of Israel, Judah is under attack, and Yahuwah protects them. They call out to Yahuwah, and Yahuwah protects them. Okay, so okay, let me not get into that part. So the theme basically is that Judah's under attack, and I'm looking at the time. Judah's under attack, and Yahuwah delivers them. So deliverance by Yahuwah. So now I used to think, so do I have like enemies, and so God is gonna protect me one day, or like, why is, but I still like it because it's a sign of protection. So I'm wondering, okay, now this is where it gets crazier, right? One day I was in the living room in New York, chilling with my girl. No, my girl was in her room, was in our room, and I was in the living room on my phone. I don't even think I was watching TV. I was on my phone, and my girl had just received a call from her ex. Okay, now they don't talk, but he had to call her for a particular reason. Imagine being in opposition to your ex, but something happens to the point where you give up your pride and you call them. Must be something crazy that must have happened, right? Now this is why he called her. His mother practices witchcraft and stuff, and I believe they have dealings with Haitians and whatever. So apparently, either his mother or someone he knows in his family, close relative of his, tried to cast a spell on me because I'm with her, right? And no matter what they do, nothing happens. And so they told both whoever was it's been a while, but God is my witness, okay? So they told my girl's ex that as for this particular guy, he can't be touched. He has a strong spirit. Now, in their minds, they thought I practice witchcraft and that my magic is strong, and so that's why I'm untouchable. I have a very strong protection. There is, and that reminds me of the passage in the Bible where it says that Jacob, no enchantment can come up against Jacob because his God is Yahuwah, or no spell can work against Jacob because he has a shield around him. There's a passage like that. So when my girl's ex called her, he was like, that Haitian boyfriend of yours, or that Haitiano is what they call it because they're Dominican. The Haitiano, he has a very strong practice, or he has a very strong magic or protection or spirit or something, right? And when my girl told me, when he told my girl that, my girl was like, "You crazy? My I don't know what she called me, but basically my boyfriend is Christian. He doesn't practice that stuff, and he wasn't buying it, right?" But all he had to do was look at my Facebook or whatever and know that I'm a servant of the Most High, and that's where my protection comes from. But apparently, like, maybe he didn't connect the dots or whatever, or what happened was so astonishing that he believes I just do magic, and that's where my protection comes from, right? So, she said a couple of other things, but to keep this video short, so basically, there's a protection around me, right? And so this kind of further made me believe that, okay, yeah, there are people trying to do things against me, and I have a strong protection and whatnot. However, I realized though that from watching the video today, that's why I'm making this video, is that video was about Armageddon and being saved on the day of Armageddon, on the day of Yahuwah, on Judgment Day. And the field where they fight is called the field of Jehoshaphat or something like that. And the man, Robert, the guy whose video I was watching, the brother whose video I was watching, an older guy, like in his 70s, but he looks good for his age. He made a very strong point that is talking about the day of Yahuwah, right? Because the passage says as much. So he doesn't have to make that deduction. But I like the way he references things. And it makes perfect sense. And you guys know I'm a very logical guy. And I think critically and I question everything. So I'm connecting the dots. And I'm like, so wait. So basically these signs are basically telling me that on the day of Yahuwah, I will be saved, right? And besides, why would he give me these signs if he's not with me anyway, right? And also, could it also mean that I am living among the generation where I would see the day of Yahuwah, and therefore I will be saved on the day of Yahuwah, right? Now, this biblimancy thing, when I was in BMT, because now I'm in the military, right? The man, Robert, was making a deduction about God will use the military forces to bring about Judgment Day as well. That it's a possibility, and it's a strong possibility, right? And how we, the servants of Yahuwah, will not have to fight. And I find it interesting that I ended up being in the military. You know what I mean? That's kind of crazy. And the other thing too is when I was at BMT, which is basic military training, there was an Asian guy, which Felix, I'm not gonna say his whole name, but my Asian boy, my Asian brother, that's crazy, my Asian brother, with Jackson, we became really good friends because of the number 37 and 73. Is a long story, crazy story. But he came to realize how much that 37 thing was all over the money that he had received on his last day at work. It's crazy. But then, and we kept seeing 37s everywhere and all of that. But when I told him about the practice of limancy, he wanted to try it. And I was like, well, I don't know if God is going to do it for you, because me and Yahuwah, we got a long history, so I don't know if he's going to do it for you. He's like, no, I want to try it. I was like, all right, go ahead, try it. Maybe he will listen, maybe not, So he opens up the Bible, and mind you, our number has been 37. As a matter of fact, that's how we became close friends, because he sat in a seat called in a seat that has the number 37. And I told him, I was like, oh, you fortunate you took my seat, because that's my number, 37. And I was like, but it's cool because I like your last name with Jackson, so you can have the seat 37. So 37 has been the number that like bonded us, and we started seeing 37 everywhere, right? Okay, and then we started talking about God, and I told him about why I like 37, 37, 777. Okay, so he's like, he wants to try it, right? So he opens up the Bible, and this like, wow, like weeks after we become friends. He's like, he wants to try it too. So open up the Bible, and it goes to dang, why can't I remember? Was it Isaiah? I don't remember what book, but again, God is my witness, right? He opened up to a book where it was the 37th chapter of that book, right? But not only was it the 37th chapter of that book, but the page was on the 37th page, okay? And the other page was 36, right? Now, if that's not crazy enough, on that page, I'm going to put if I can remember, I'm going to put the passage in the link below, description below. In that passage, it had the names of Josiah and Jeremiah, I believe. Josiah and Jeremiah. I'm going to ask Felix if he can remember. It was Josiah and Jeremiah. Now, those two names are the names of his two younger brothers here in America, in Colorado. So he wants to try it, and he opens up the Bible. He sees 37, and the two names on the page are his younger brother. So basically, God, he couldn't believe it, and me, of course, I could believe it because, well, I mean, I could believe it, but I was shocked that God actually did it for him. Right now, this is where I'm going to end it off at. In BMT, I was away from my girl for a while, right, and I'm always concerned about my girl's safety. She's all the way in New York, So ever since I got to BMT, every night I would say my prayer to the Almighty, and I would ask him to protect my girl in New York. And I would always use a particular reference to one of the biblimancy signs that he gave me, which was that not even a single arrow will be casted into Judah, right? Meaning that they will not face any threat whatsoever. Not even a single arrow will enter into the city, right? So I would always use that passage and use that reference and say to God, like, Yahuwah, please don't even allow a single arrow to come up against my girl. Protect her, please, with a strong hand, And I would pray. I prayed that, I believe, 10 nights in a row or something like that. And on the weekend, it was on a Sunday, everyone, a lot of people had went to their churches and stuff, and I was just in the dorm preaching to everybody, right? Preaching. We were just sitting down preaching, and I don't know if this was after or before, but I had got up and I grabbed a Bible that was by the door. I just grabbed it. For what reason, I don't know. I just grabbed it and I just opened it, right? And when I opened it, it took me to one of the bibliomancy signs that God gave me. Which one? The one where God told Isaiah to tell Hezekiah that not even a single arrow will be casted into the city. So then I was like, yes, that's confirmation. God did not have to give me that sign, but he wanted me to be at ease. And he was basically telling me, don't worry. You've been praying to not let a single arrow be casted against your companion. Here's my answer to you. Not even a single arrow will be casted against your companion. So I'm going to end it there. I believe now that the signs have been, obviously it's about me being protected. Apparently people trying to cast spells on me and it ain't going to work. But not only that, but that on the day of Yahuwah Almighty, on the day of Armageddon, I will be part of those who will be saved. And there's also a different bibliomancy sign, which God did it in front of my girl. Let me talk about that too, because if you watch this far, you're going to watch the rest of it. So let me tell you about this bibliomancy. So I already told you about 6, which the theme was about being saved, right? Now, on the day when I used to deliver newspapers for a Korean company in Jersey, where people who drop newspapers at your door. I was the one who would bring the bulk to the warehouse so that the newspapers would be taken to be brought to your house, right? I would do that, and I would drive like for miles and in the middle of the night, like in the woods and stuff. Scary stuff, my girl would say, but no, it wasn't scary to me. So now that I love that job because I got it done in like 2-3 hours, and I got paid good for just 2-3 hours worth of work. But when the pandemic hit, I lost that job. And the night that they told me, Juan, the midnight that he told me that they're gonna have to let me go in a couple weeks, in a couple weeks, I was listening to I have been listening to like the audio of the Bible, in my car as I'm driving and stuff. So when he told me that, I was thinking in my mind, maybe God would give me a sign in the portion of the audio that I'm at in the Bible tonight. Maybe not. It was just a thought that entered my mind and left as soon as it entered, right? So when I finished my shift and was going home, I put the audio to play, and it was in the book of Chronicles. And in the book of Chronicles, the portion I was at, it was literally just chronology. And this person was the son of this person, and this person was the son of this person, and this person was the son of this person, and this person was the son of this person, right? And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to get any sign from God here. I'm not going to get any sign from God here about me losing my job. How am I going to get a sign through, chronology? Now, unless I interpret the names or something, but I didn't think I was going to do all that, right? But as I'm driving home, it was about an hour drive home from Jersey to the Bronx. As I'm driving home and I'm listening to it, the theme of that portion of Chronicles is just chronology. All of a sudden, it stops from chronology and talks about a person named Jabez. And Jabez was a person who went through a lot of pain. I actually mentioned this in a previous video. Who went through a lot of pain in his life. His name even meant pain, right? And basically, he just cried out to God and said, oh, if you would only bless me and enlarge my territory, meaning make me rich, right? And may your hand be with me that I may be free from pain. And then it said, and God granted his request. And then it went right back to chronology. And this person was the son of this person, and this person was the son of this person. So I stopped the car on the highway. I parked on the side of the highway, and I'm like, I'm about to lose my job. A thought entered my mind that maybe while I'm going home and I'm listening to the Bible, I might get a sign from God, but I didn't really think it was going to be anything. And then as I'm listening to it, it's just chronology. I was like, yeah, so I'm definitely not going to get a sign. And all of a sudden it talks about this person named Jabez, who's in a lot of pain because he basically doesn't have a job. He has no money or something. And so he's begging God to enlarge his territory, basically, because in that time your wealth was based on the amount of land you had. So basically he's telling God, make me rich and may your hand be with me so that I may be free from pain. So I'm like, perfect timing. So when I get home, I tell my girl, I got bad news. I'm gonna be let go in a few weeks, right? So I mean, she's not the type to stress over things like that because she knows God is with me. But it wasn't good news. And then I told her, I was like, but I believe God gave me a sign, because as I was going home, the passage, right? So I told her about that sign, and she was like, okay, maybe, right? So she wasn't buying it. Okay, so I was like, all right, cool. So I told her this before I went to the bathroom and washed my hands, because always when I come home from work, I wash my hands first thing. So I was like, okay. So I went to the bathroom to wash my hands, and as I'm washing my hands, a thought enters my head saying, tell her about what you used to do, where you would pray to God, and you would open up the Bible and you would get a sign from God through bibliomancy, right? Because this is kind of what happened, because you were driving home and the passage that you heard through the audio was related to your situation. So it kind of like matches bibliomancy a little bit, but not really. So it kind of made sense why that thought entered my head. And obviously because it was from the Almighty, because you're about to see what happened. That's why I had to include this. So as I'm washing my hands, the thought entered, like, show her what you used to do, the bibliomancy and stuff, right? So I was like, oh yeah. So I went to the room and I was like, oh babe, did I ever tell you what I used to do, where I would pray to God and he would answer me, like when I just opened up the Bible, like just like that, and he would give me an answer concerning the prayer that I made to him? And she was like, no, you've never told me. And that was surprising, because I've told my girl pretty much everything. So for me to have not told her about that, which was very strong, powerful signs from the Almighty, was kind of strange. But maybe God was just saving it for this very moment, because God was going to do it in front of her. Okay. So I was like, all right, well, let me tell you exactly what I did. So I went to the Bible, which was on my side of the bed. I went to the Bible, picked it up, and I remember I came to the edge of the bed right here, and I stood in front of her. And I was like, so this is what I used to do. I'll say a prayer to God, in my head, and I'll open up the Bible. And I would read it. And as I'm looking at what I opened up, I'm like, wait, hold up. Chronicles. And I'm looking, and I'm like, I told my girl, so the passage that I opened up, the story of Jabez was literally one page over. Okay? So, but I know what chapter it's on, and it's on the previous chapter. So I'm telling my girl, babe, the very thing I'm demonstrating to you now about what God used to do for me and actually does do for me, he just did it in front of you right now. And I was like, it's only one page over. So I went and I showed her. And I was like, the story about Jabez, he prayed to God and God said he would enlarge his territory and his hand will be with him so that he'll be free from pain. So I showed her. It happened right in front of her. You see how all of this is tying in? So now me and her are trying to understand, like, what does this mean? Does it mean is the next page of my life? Does it mean when I move from New York to California? You know what I mean? Is it like now that I'm in the military because I'm in the next phase of my life because I'm in a different job, I'm in the government, I'm a government guy, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, what is it when I retire? I hope not. Sheesh. Yeah, we're in the new world. Kind of hope not. I mean, I want it in the new world, but I want it here too. And he gave me another sign concerning Jabez again, but it's too much about Arlene, the sign on the floor at midnight when a girl who needed help, right, approached us, and I took her to the side and I asked her, tell me the truth. You ran away from home, right? She's like, how did you know? I had an argument with my parents. I came all the way here from Harlem, and she actually did need money. I gave her money, and she was like, I'll stay with you for the night if you want. I was like, never tell that to a man because they will take advantage. And then she gave me her name. I was like, that's not your name. She was like, yeah, it is my name. That's what they call me, Arlene. And she gave me her number. I was like, that's not your number. She's like, call the number right now. You'll see it's my number. I was like, no, I'll take your word for it. And then several minutes later, I see her name carved on the floor next to mine, Sammy E. Arlene. Mind you, it's midnight, and it's carved on the floor. When the pavement is like, when they first make the sidewalk and it's soft, so people put like, oh, Sammy was here, or they put their footprint and stuff, so it was soft, and then they put their name, and that becomes permanent pretty much. That's what it was. So she didn't do that, and she doesn't know my name. I never gave her my name, but it said Sammy E. Arlene. Literally just 15 minutes after I had met a girl named Arlene. And I was looking on the phone, and it's midnight. I was looking on the phone because I'm thinking about her the whole time. And during that time, I was preaching to someone named Adam. I'm rambling. I was preaching to somebody named Adam, and Adam was like, well, you know, like that midnight. And Adam was like, well, pray to God, because obviously you're pretty close with him. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. So as I'm praying to God and I'm looking at her name on the phone, I walk past a sign on the floor, and it said Sammy E. something, but I keep walking. I'm like, imagine it says Sammy E. Arlene. So I keep walking. I'm like, because no, it's not gonna say that. That's crazy. There's no way it's gonna say Sammy E. Arlene. But something tells me turn back around and watch and see what it says. Turn back around, Sammy E. Arlene. Arlene means vows. Sammy is short for Samuel. Samuel means God has heard. So translation, God has heard my vows. Several years later, when the story of Jabez pops up again, this is crazy, okay? We park next to the sign. I go home. I'm listening to the this is the first time I parked by that sign, okay? Since it happened. And something to that effect. I made a video on this already, but I'm rambling a lot. Went home. The portion of the Bible that I was reading, David says, for you, God, have heard my vows. You have given me an inheritance reserved for those who fear your name. And this happened after I had asked God for an inheritance, because so Samuel, God has heard. David says, for you, God, have heard my vows. Samuel, God have heard my vows. Sammy Arlene. And this happened about a week, or if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to lie. So either a week or a few months after I had asked God to give me an inheritance. Because the job that I was working as a security guard, the owner of the company, the president of the company, his son came to the shop, and his son's name was his son's name was Samuel. And we both were Pisces. I wasn't paying attention to that because apparently my my numerological number is 7, like 7, and 7 is my favorite number. Like I said, 37, 37, 777. So the manager was like, oh, well, Sammy, you're a Pisces. Meet Sammy. He's the son of the president. So ever since that day, I was like, that's interesting. Like, why? I feel like there's something significant here. And so I was like, Samuel is going to inherit the company from his father. So ever since that day, I've been asking God to give me an inheritance, right? So then this was years after God gave me that sign, Sammy Arlene. So so every night I would ask God to give me an inheritance. And then one day I parked next to the sign, Sammy Arlene. Me and my girl, we go home. I'm eating my food and I'm listening to the audio of the Bible. And in that audio, David says to God, for you, God, have given, for you, God, have heard my vows. God, have heard my vows. Samuel, E. Arlene. Samuel, God, have heard, Arlene, my vows. You see it? And then the next passage, the very next sentence, he says, you have given me an inheritance reserved for those who fear your name. All right, if you guys didn't get it, I'm sorry. I guess I'm not going to explain it again because obviously you can just watch it back. But yeah, man, 32 minutes. I'm sorry, y'all, but I had to get that off my chest. Peace.